Hello everybody. Welcome to the Way Life Big Book Study. I'm Dave, recovered alcoholic.
Good evening, friends. My name is Blythe, gratefully recovered alcoholic.
We're going to stand for the Serenity Prayer. God,
Grant
us the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Thanks, everybody. And Bill's gonna read the preamble, please.
Bill, alcoholic.
Hi, Bill.
AA preamble. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of people who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organization, or institution. Does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety.
And Blythe's going to read the set-aside prayer.
God, help me set aside everything I think I know about you, myself, the big book, my illness, the fellowship, and give me an open mind so that I can see the truth. Amen.
Okay, so at this meeting, Blythe and I are going to read and interpret. No. The first portion of the book, which is where we find our program. There will be time at the end for questions, comments, sharing. There's pens and papers up there. If you have questions, write them down. Highlighters for your books. Please don't highlight the meeting books. And we're going to get started. We left off starting into action on page 72. But first, as always, we're going to do a really, really quick recap. And Blythe's going to take it away here.
Once again, my name is Blythe, gratefully recovered alcoholic. It's an honor and a privilege to always do this on Sunday nights, and it's really good to see this room filling up with people. You know, I came to Alcoholics Anonymous for help because I couldn't stop drinking, and I spent 6 months in the fellowship, and you know, the rent was starting to get paid, which was fantastic, and there was food in the fridge, but inside my soul I was still really sick. I remember walking to meetings and just like having panic attacks and thinking the only way that I know how to stop this is to have a drink or a drug. And it wasn't until I met a recovered alcoholic who took me through this process that really saved my life, right? So I love getting people into this book. This is where we find our program of recovery, and we're going to talk about that really briefly. So if we go to our title page, it says Alcoholics Anonymous, the story of how many thousands of men and women have recovered from alcoholism. You'll notice that the story is in italics. So my story continued to get me drunk over and over again. Anybody here relate to that? Yeah. So we need a new story, right? So this is their story of how they did it. If we listen to their story and do what they did, we're going to get what they got, right? Does that make sense? Awesome. So we flip the page, go into the preface. It says, second paragraph says, because this book has become the basic text for our society and has helped such large numbers of alcoholic men and women to recovery, there exists strong sentiment against any radical changes being made in it. Therefore, the first portion of this volume describing the AA recovery program has been left largely untouched in the course of revisions made for the second, third, and fourth editions. So we're already starting to make a slight separation between the fellowship and the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. When I'm dealing with new people coming into the fellowship, it's important that I make that distinction. Because when I came in for those 6 months when I was in the fellowship, I thought I was in the program. And this is the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. And if I think I'm in the program, I'm going to meetings and I think I'm in the program, what's going to happen? I'll stay sober for a little while. The malady will kick in again. I'll get loaded and I'll say, AA doesn't work. I tried that program when I didn't even touch it.
Yeah. And when Blythe's talking about their stories, referring to the first 100.
First 100 wrote the book.
Came together. Yeah.
I'm going to talk about that right now. If we flip again, we go to the forward to the first edition. It says, we of Alcoholics Anonymous are more than 100 men and women who have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. So anytime it says we, it's talking about the first 100 who wrote the book. When we look at the steps on the wall, it says we admitted we were powerless. That's not the people in this room. It's the first 100 who wrote the book. They wrote the steps.
Isn't it a we program?
It is a we program, but that comes a little later.
Oh.
We all have the same problem, the same solution, and the same course of action, right? Alcoholism, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what alcoholism is. But first it says to show other alcoholics precisely how we have recovered is the main purpose of this book. So what's the purpose of this book? To show you how to recover from alcoholism.
Exactly how.
Precisely how, in italics. So, hold on. We get through this process, man, and amazing things can happen, and you can recover from alcoholism. If you couldn't, I don't think they would have put it on the title page. It says to recover from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. 2 symptoms of alcoholism. The first, the doctor's opinion and the first 2 chapters really dig into these 2 symptoms. The doctor really lays out our illness for us and talks a lot about this allergy, the physical component, the component of the body, which is where when I have one drink or drug, I get thirstier. Anyone relate to that? Yeah. When they talk about craving, I thought it was about the first drink, but it's after I have that first drink. I hated having 1 or 2 beers, and I used to call it flying on one wing. Right? Like that. And a non-alcoholic person can control how much they drink, but because I have this allergy or phenomenon of craving, I have one, and I will rob from my mother to get that second or third drink, right? I'll go to any lengths for that second and third drink. And that's what that allergy piece is. We go to page 23. And it's really the first time, might not be the very first time, but that it mentions this malady. So it's talking about alcoholics lying about picking up that first drink. Isn't that really the problem? If I didn't pick up the first drink, the allergy wouldn't be a problem, right? But I have the second symptom, which means that I can't stay away from that first drink. That's what it means to be an alcoholic, right? Earlier on, it talks a little bit about sufficient reason, right? If I have sufficient reason, can I stop? My friend Dave's he's like, I have kids. I couldn't stop for my kids. I went to jails, all this stuff, right? I could fill this room with sufficient reasons to stop, and I was completely unable. And that's what it means to be an alcoholic. So it says here, once in a while he may tell the truth, and the truth, strange to say, is that he usually has no more of an idea why he took that first drink than you have. Some drinkers have excuses with which they're satisfied part of the time, but in their hearts they really do not know why they do it. Once this malady has a real hold, they are a baffled lot. And that was me, right? Completely baffled why I kept picking up the first drink. So that's the 2 symptoms of alcoholism. The inability to control it and the inability to stay away. Control and choice. Control and choice. I lost the ability to choose whether I drink or not. I'd wake up in the morning promising myself I'm not drinking today, and I'd get loaded. Right? Alcoholic. Okay, so that's my spiel on alcoholism. As Dave said, we're on page 72, so we're starting to actually touch on step 5, but I do want to touch just a little bit on the rest of it. Step 1 is 3 chapters of learning about alcoholism. That's really what step 1 is learning about alcoholism and seeing what it means with powerless is that I have that second symptom, and if I don't find a spiritual solution to this thing, I'm going to drink again. And I'm going to keep picking up that first drink until it kills me. I'm powerless over that. No middle-of-the-road solution is going to keep me sober, right? This alcoholic of this hopeless variety that it talks about. That was an experience for me, right? A step 1 experience, learning that I'm screwed. I was like, shit, deflated. But it made me willing to look at step 2, right? Which is coming to believe in this power. And it's not that you have to come to believe in God before you can go to step 3, but we ask that you be willing to believe something out there can save my ass. That's really what step 2 is. Step 3 is making this decision to continue with the rest of the action steps, understanding that selfishness and self-centeredness is the root of my troubles. That I need to make a decision that God is going to be my director. I don't run my own life anymore. I'm going to turn my thoughts and my actions over to God while I do the rest of these steps. We analyzed step 4 over the last couple of weeks, which is our resentments, right? 4 things: our resentments, our fears, our sex, and our harms. We went through all that stuff over the last few weeks. And now we're going to get into step 5. Very important, and I love this, the beginning of this chapter. Take us away from page 72. Whew!
Okay.
Hope I did okay there.
You did fantastic.
Good. Good.
Okay. Everybody there? Okay. All right. Having made our personal inventory, what shall we do about it? We've been trying to get a new attitude, a new relationship with our Creator, and to discover the obstacles in our path.
Right, so step 4 is all about identifying and removing these things that block me from God. It says, I can't remember what page it's on. I'm tired. Anyways, it talks about deep down in every man, woman, and child is the fundamental idea of God. That things like anger and the things that have happened to our life block us off, right? So step 4 is really about identifying these blockages and removing them so that we can stand in the sunlight of the Spirit. When we do a good 4 and a 5, all that shit gets taken away, man. So, yeah.
Somewhere in the agnostics.
Yeah.
We have admitted certain defects.
So where do we find our defects? Back in step 4. We identified all my fears, the patterns that went throughout my whole life.
We have ascertained in a rough way what the trouble is. We have put our finger on the weak items in our personal inventory. Now these are about to be cast out.
I love that sentence, right? These are about to be cast out. Does it say that I'm casting them out? No, I don't have that ability, right? But as we build conscious contact with this power, He casts them out, right? Much like I could never control my alcoholism and I have the complete inability to do that, it's the same with my character defects, right? He casts them out. We ask Him to remove them, right? Because I can't do it. I hear it all the time when I'm working on my character defects. Good luck.
This requires action on our part, which when completed will mean that we have admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our defects. This brings us to the 5th step in the program of recovery, mentioned in the preceding chapter. This is perhaps difficult.
I think it's so funny, that statement, right? This is perhaps difficult. There's very few words that if I could change a word in the big book, this is one of them, right? This is fucking difficult. There's nothing fun about this, right? I was filled with fear when I did my first step 5, right?
Especially discussing our defects with another person. We think we've done well enough at admitting these things to ourselves. There is doubt about that. In actual practice, we usually find a solitary self-appraisal insufficient.
So what happens if we do a step 4 and not do a 5? Usually insufficient means I get loaded.
Many of us thought it necessary to go much further. We will be more reconciled to discussing ourselves with another person when we see good reasons why we should do so. The best reason first. If we skip this vital step, we may not overcome drinking.
So the word vital, right? What does that mean? Necessary for life. When I go to the hospital, what do they check?
Vitals.
Your vitals, right? Necessary for life. And this is a vital step, man. If I want to live, if I don't want to fall victim to that powerlessness, where alcohol and drugs are going to be the death of me, then this is vital work.
Time after time, newcomers have tried to keep to themselves certain facts about their lives. Trying to avoid this humbling experience, they have turned to easier methods.
Which is getting drunk. Right?
Almost invariably, they got drunk.
Yeah.
So don't leave anything off your 5. Mm-hmm. The one thing you're like, I'm just not going to mention that. It'll be okay. The book's telling us right here, no, it won't. You will invariably get drunk.
Right, and just time after time, newcomers have tried to keep to themselves certain facts about their lives. I've seen it time and time again. I've listened to lots of 5s, and you can kind of tell when somebody's not being honest. But if you're not completely honest, you get loaded. Right?
Having persevered with the rest of the program, they wondered why they fell.
Oh, actually, can I mention one more thing?
Yes.
You'll notice it's changed, and I heard it here tonight, but it's a we program. Right? So at the back at the top of the page, it says, having made our personal inventory, what shall we do about it? It's not saying what they did anymore, right? It's not telling their story so much anymore. It's because now, after you've done a 4, you're actually part of the collective, right? The language shifts there. Carry on. So it is a we program.
So they left something out in 5, did the rest of the steps, and then they wondered why they relapsed, right? We think the reason is that they never completed their house cleaning.
So Dr. Bob always said, trust God, clean house, help others, right? That's how this simmered down. That's how this thing works.
They took inventory all right, but hung on to some of the worst items in stock. They only thought they had lost their egoism and fear. They only thought they had humbled themselves. But they had not learned enough of humility, fearlessness, and honesty in the sense we find it necessary until they told someone else all their life story.
I hear things like, oh, my best thinking got me here, right? That's my best thinking, right? I only thought I was doing this. I only thought I did enough. Carry on.
More than most people, the alcoholic leads a double life. He's very much the actor. To the outer world, he presents his stage character. This is the one he likes his fellows to see. He wants to enjoy a certain reputation, but knows in his heart he doesn't deserve it. The inconsistency is made worse by the things he does on his sprees. Coming to his senses, he is revolted at certain episodes he vaguely remembers.
You guys remember waking up in the morning just like, oh my God, what did I do?
These memories are a nightmare.
A nightmare.
I did what? He trembles to think someone might have observed him. As fast as he can, he pushes these memories far inside himself.
And I would do that. I would just cram everything down, right? And that is just not healthy.
He
Right?
hopes they'll never see the light of day. He is under constant fear and tension that makes for more drinking.
Mm-hmm.
Psychologists are inclined to agree with us. We have spent thousands of dollars for examinations.
Thousands of dollars. Like I ran to the doctor every time I ran out, right? because that's when the problem really happens, right? Is when I'm out. And I'm suicidal and I'm depressed and I'm full of anxiety and I'm all these things because I'm out of alcohol and drugs. And yeah, thousands of dollars I saw in doctors, right? My friend David just loves some of the things he says, right? Like when the doctor asks you, well, how much do you drink in a week? And he thinks, shit, how much does a normal person drink in a week?
We know but few instances where we have given these doctors a fair break.
You ever lie to a doctor?
Maybe a little. I think it's easier question. You ever tell the truth? We have seldom told them the whole truth, nor have we followed their advice. Unwilling to be honest with these sympathetic men, we were honest with no one else. Small wonder why many of the medical profession have such low opinions of alcoholics and their chances for recovery.
Right? There's so much stuff that because I'm powerless over this illness, because I have this illness, and if you don't understand that it's an illness, there's so much, I wouldn't want to say prejudice, but like, negative emotion around it, right? That we're going to fucking drink again. Like, it's what we do, right?
Yeah. Honesty and willingness is our cornerstone. It just mentions it so many times up to this point. Gotta be willing, gotta be honest. We must be entirely honest with somebody if we expect to live long or happily in this world.
I hope this sentence is your take home tonight. We must be entirely honest with somebody if we expect to live long or happily in this world.
Rightly and naturally, we think well before we choose the person or persons with whom we take this intimate and confidential step. Those of us belonging to a religious denomination which requires confession must, and of course, will want to go to the properly appointed authority, whose duty it is to receive it.
So there's a lot of similarities between confession and a fifth step, right? A lot of people go to pastors and ministers and things for fifth step. I do them with alcoholics. And there's a slight difference I find between a fifth step and confession, which is a fifth step is like if you have a blister and you pop a blister, it feels really good, right? Or sliver, sorry. If you have a sliver and it swells up and you pop it, it feels really good. But there's still that sliver in there, right? So step 5 is really to get that sliver out of there. A good step 5 listener is going to help you identify your character defects, your instincts, where your instincts have gone awry, all these kinds of things. And so to get that sliver out, slightly different thing.
Though we have no religious connection, we may still do well to talk with someone ordained by an established religion. We often find such a person quick to see and understand our problem. Of course, we sometimes encounter people who do not understand alcoholics.
So just a kind of a funny story, and I have no problem with the church or anything like that, but we sometimes encounter people who do not understand alcoholics. A friend of mine, she went and did her 5th step with a Catholic priest, I'm pretty sure it was, and afterwards he wanted to, what do you call it when you get the demons out of people? Exorcist. She wanted to exorcise him. Whoa, easy there. Put the brakes on. Yeah.
If we cannot or would rather not do this, we search our acquaintances for a closed-mouthed, understanding friend. Perhaps our doctor or psychologist would be the person. It may be one of our own family, but we cannot disclose anything to our wives or parents which will hurt them and make them unhappy.
Yeah, I would lean against using your family. There's lots of people in Prince George that are willing to do 5s.
We have no right to save our own skin at another person's expense. Such parts of our story we tell to someone who will understand yet be unaffected. The rule is we must be hard on ourselves but always considerate of others.
It's vital.
Notwithstanding the great necessity for discussing ourselves with someone, it may be one is so situated that there is no suitable person available. If that is so, this step may be postponed. Only, however, if we hold ourselves in complete readiness to go through with it at the first opportunity.
I just want to talk about something here. That we talk about it at the first opportunity. So we're not going to wait, right? And much like when we did our 3 and go into our 4, when we go into our 4, it says we launch out on a course of vigorous action, right? We're not waiting for that either. Our decision was vital once again, crucial. It could have little permanent effect unless at once, followed by a strenuous effort to face, we rid of the things in ourselves that have been blocking us. Like, this is impactful stuff. It's not meant to sit in. You're not meant to sit in your 4 before you do your 5. You're not meant to sit on a decision before you get into the action. When Dave and I take people through the steps, it takes like 4 to 6 weeks, and we're through the process, right?
Yeah. And once we start step 4, we meet every day until 5 is done. Because, why would you want to go through all of that step 4 and then have the solution to it in step 5 and then wait? It makes no sense, right? We say
like, oh, they're not ready for a 4. Like, who are you to play God? Yeah, carry on.
We say this because we are very anxious that we talk to the right person. It is important that he be able to keep with confidence, that he fully understand and approve what we are driving at.
Once again, we're driving at getting these blockages, removing these things that have blocked us from God.
That he will not try to change our plan. But we must not use this as a mere excuse to postpone. When we decide who is to hear our story, we waste no time.
There it is again, no time.
We have a written inventory and we're prepared for a long talk. We explain to our partner what we are about to do and why we have to do it. He should realize that we're engaged upon a life and death errand.
Right, that's that powerlessness piece, right? This illness is going to kill me. So am I going to do the work that we're asking or suggesting? There's a lot of musts in this book.
For suggestions. Most people approached in this way will be glad to help. They will be honored by our confidence. We pocket our pride and go to it, illuminating every twist of character, every dark cranny of the past.
Here's the step 5 promises, okay?
Once we have taken this step, withholding nothing.
So the only promise is if we're not holding nothing back.
We are delighted.
We're delighted.
We can look the world in the eye.
Wow.
We can be alone at perfect peace and ease. Our fears fall from us. We begin to feel the nearness of our Creator. We may have had certain spiritual beliefs, but now we begin to have a spiritual experience. The feeling that the drink problem has disappeared will often come strongly. We feel we are on the broad highway, walking hand in hand with the spirit of the universe.
Beautiful stuff.
I've seen that happen over and over and over again in step 5 for people.
I didn't know the impact of my fears falling away from me was. I was scared of everything. Terrified.
People call me like, what's happening? So I feel weird. What's going on? Right? I don't know what this peace is actually like. I never had it before. It's funny how peace and ease causes dis-ease. At the beginning.
What's going on?
What's happening, man? Returning home, we find a place where we can be quiet for an hour.
So this is after your 5, okay?
Carefully reviewing what we have done.
So this is what we're going to do during that hour, right? We're going to do our 5. We're going to spend an hour alone. No clocks, no TV. You and your book.
Reviewing what you've done. Really making sure you didn't leave anything out.
Mm-hmm.
We thank God from the bottom of our heart that we know Him better. Taking this book down from our shelf, we turn to the page which contains the 12 steps. Carefully reading the first 5 proposals.
Carefully reading the first 5 proposals. Oh yeah, I'm powerless. I got a problem. Oh yeah.
We ask if we have omitted anything. We're building an arch through which we shall walk, free man at last.
Some cool stuff about this arch. It's up to this point, it's mentioned it a few times. It mentions it in Bill's story. It mentions it in There is a Solution. It mentions it in We Agnostics. So like there's a cornerstone and a keystone and a foundation stone and all these different stones that we're building this arch, spiritual arch that we walk through a free man at last. And what that free man at last means is that I no longer have an alcoholic mind. And I know that's not what you hear in meetings, but that's what you hear in this book. That I've recovered from a hopeless state of mind and body. That doesn't mean that I can drink again. I have a daily reprieve, but if I keep doing this work, I no longer have to fear the drink.
We're not cured, it can return, right? Where did I leave off? Oh, right. Are the stones properly in place? Have we skimped on the cement put into the foundation? Have we tried to make mortar without sand?
Right, so we're going to go through those, in how it works, pages 58 and 59, and just really dig into them. Am I in full understanding of what this means? Because if not, this is when I need to ask my sponsor about it before we go on to here, because they're balls. Now it's going to get rolling. So yeah, are the stones properly in place? Have we skimped on the cement put into the foundation? I think we'll shut her down there.
Yeah, when we walk through this arch of free man, that's step 2, what it's talking about, we've gotten that, right? We walk through this arch of free man, my sanity's been returned. I no longer have an alcoholic mind, meaning when I think about alcohol, because it doesn't ever promise us here that we're not going to think about alcohol. What it promises is that our sanity is going to be returned. So when I think about alcohol, I react sanely to it. When I think, oh man, a drink would be nice, I'm able to think, no, it wouldn't, you dumbass. It puts you in jail. It's terrible. Don't do it. I didn't have that mental defense before, and I didn't get it through any other thing than that connection with this higher power that the book pretty much promises us starts to happen after step 5, right?